Hi there, I'm Eitan, and welcome back to the Wix Wiz. Today's video is going to be a little different, and it's going to be about a new announcement that Wix just made yesterday, and it's pretty big news, but you still may not have heard of it for one very interesting reason that we'll talk about very soon. And this big announcement was Wix Studio. So what is Wix Studio? Well, we're about to find out because I decided to skip the big announcement earlier today and watch it together with you. So this big announcement is available on YouTube, and we're going to watch it together. And I'm going to be pausing and giving kind of my 2 cents and interpretation on some of the things that they are talking about and how it ties into the rest of the Wix kind of development ecosystem, and where Wix is kind of going in general from my perspective. This is really important if you are either building your site on Wix right now or you're kind of considering Wix in the future, because this is really going to be a game changer for all of Wix users eventually. But it's still coming out, so it might take another month or so before people start getting access, and even those first people will probably be only people from the Wix partner program. So let's hop into the video and see what they got to say. Very exciting countdown.
Hi everyone, I'm Michal Bignitz, head of Wix Partners, and I'm super excited to be here today and share with you some major news.
Okay, so I know I'm pausing this really early, but this is already a pretty big Easter egg as to who the target audience is for this new product. Okay, so I think she said her name was Michal, is talking. She's the head of Wix Partner Program. So if you're not familiar with the Wix Partner Program, it is basically a program for agencies or freelance designers who build websites essentially for other people. So a lot of people who come to Wix are DIY. That's probably you if you're watching this video. But there are also agencies and freelancers that specialize in Wix and help people build websites on Wix. So that's usually the people who will be in the partner program. And just judging by these first few seconds, that is kind of who this new product is geared towards, at least initially.
This is one of the biggest things we've ever done at Wix, and we know it will be a game changer for us as a company. But mostly, it's going to be a game changer for you, because it will let you be more successful than ever before. Over the past few weeks, we've seen you speculating, trying to guess what we are going to announce. And it's been amazing to read your comments and see your reactions. I hope that what we are about to show you will not only blow your minds, but will also demonstrate how important you are to us, because this one was built just for you and with you in mind. Before we move forward, I just want to say that we have a live chat going on right now, so feel free to reach out. We will be collecting questions throughout the event, and at the end, we will share a link to a dedicated page with all of the answers. Okay, so I want us to take a quick look back and explain how we got here. Partners, agencies and freelancers like yourself have been with us since day one, and you've always been at the center of our attention. Over the years, we built our relationship and worked closely together to get your feedback and understand your needs, and we build our roadmaps accordingly. And now, with all that experience in mind, we know exactly what it takes to build the ultimate platform for agencies and freelancers.
Okay, so I have to stop here and talk about this buildup because it is super important and it needs some context. So, you probably heard recently, because it was even bigger news than this huge announcement, that Wix is planning on releasing an AI tool for generating websites. So you might have heard of or already built your website using the ADI. So that's kind of a light AI or like early generation AI option of building your website. It kind of just takes some info about your website and generates something for you. But Wix is planning on releasing a tool that's much more advanced and based on like the new generative AI capabilities, where you can really kind of describe your website just using words and it generates a website for you and you can make adjustments really easily. And this is something that has kind of freaked out a lot of the Wix partners because if it's going to be so easy for people to build websites by themselves, then what are partners for? Where is the position of web design agencies within this ecosystem? And this is something that's kind of worrying the whole kind of web agency and freelancer community at large. So this is not some specifically a Wix issue per se, but the fact that Wix has this partner program and Wix has announced this really powerful, I mean, it's not available yet, but they've announced this really powerful AI tool. This kind of scared a lot of the partners. So I think that both the creation of this new Wix Studios and the timing of this new Wix Studio announcement is really very much linked to that announcement, even though they don't say that explicitly. And that's really why I think there's a lot of hype here around the relationship with the partners. Not that that's a bad thing, but just to give it a little context.
And that's exactly what we've been doing for the past year. Our top priority has been to build a platform that gives you everything you need to deliver high-end websites in a hyper-efficient way for any type of business, all the way to enterprises. Today, we're launching a brand new platform tailored for agencies and freelancers. I'm thrilled to announce WixStudio.
Leave limitations at the door and step into your studio. One end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency. Design intuitively with built-in responsive behaviors and create unique layouts with a revolutionary grid. Weave in code-free interactions to bring life to any site. Dive deeper into your creations and build signature experiences with custom CSS. Use responsive AI to adapt your designs for any device in an instant. Develop bespoke widgets. Deploy them across multiple sites and sell them on the app market to unlock new revenue streams. Say yes to any project with robust native business solutions and extend them with hundreds of APIs for any client need. Collaborate with your team right on the canvas to make things click. Track, manage, and scale from one unified workspace to an entire world of infinite possibilities, so that with every client handover, you deliver brilliance and smash deadlines. WixStudio.
That's it.
Okay, so just from that little short video, we could already learn a lot. And I will give a little bit of a disclaimer here that I was privileged to be one of the Wix partners that was presented this Wix Studio plan a little early, just to, be aware and also give some feedback regarding Wix Studio. So whenever even before seeing this announcement or looking at the official Wix Studio site, I do have some context. But just taking a look at that video, if you take a look at it with a keen eye, you can see some of the main themes that they're talking about, and I'm sure Michal is about to elaborate on that as well. And that would be one, the topic of responsive design, which is a big concern for a lot of people who are building in the classic editor. They talk about custom CSS, which is a new feature that's also going to be going into Editor X. They talk about collaboration. They talk about a new workspace. So that's something that you may not be familiar with. So partners have something called a partner dashboard, where they can kind of control their business in the context of Wix and leads that they get from the Wix marketplace. And that is something that's going to be revamped to just kind of help them manage their projects with a bunch of new tools. But really that video, it's a teaser, but it really highlights the main points that they're about to explain that Wix Studio kind of enhances.
Wix Studio is out. I wish I could see your faces right now. As you saw, we have so many new capabilities, and that was just a glimpse. Coming up, we're going to take you step by step into the new advancements and features we've built for you. And the best way to start is by inviting my partner in this journey, Gali Erez, the head of the studio editor, to take us through the creation experience. Hi, Gali.
Hey, Michal, can you believe we're finally here? It's been a wild ride.
Yeah, right? So, Gali, before we dive into the demo, can you tell us a little bit about the vision behind the WixStudio editor?
Of course. So to give a bit of background, when we first came up with the concept of WixStudio, our main goal was to empower creators like you to deliver groundbreaking sites for your clients. And our vision was to create something fully intuitive, inspired by the Wix editor, and layered with the deep design control and advanced capabilities of Editor X. I truly believe we redefined the way you can build websites.
So, Gali,
Okay, so just based on that sentence, you can already tell that this is going to be some kind of middle ground between the classic Wix editor and Editor X.
let's get into it.
With me now is the head of the WixStudio product team, Nir Sadeh, and Yoav Arami, the head of Wix Code Products. Nir and I are going to start with an overview of the editor and its new design and editing experiences. And then Yoav will jump in to talk about the exciting development opportunities on WixStudio. Now let's see the platform in action.
Thanks, Gali. Hi, everyone. For the purpose of this demo, we created a site for Modern Art Museum. Our site needs to make a great first impression. So we start with a bold hero and some scroll animations to make it really exciting. In the next section, we wanted to showcase all the exhibitions that are going on. So we used a detailed layout, allowing visitors to scan a lot of content at once with a custom cursor on top. For this section,
Just by the way, custom cursor is also available in Editor X.
we used the classic layout to highlight one of the shows. Here, we put together a custom reveal for a lecture series that's coming up. Next, we wanted a convenient way for visitors to read the latest news about the museum. We used Slideshow and connected it to the CMS to update content dynamically. And lastly, we wanted to close the site with a strong reference to the brand, so we used the museum logo in a global section that applies on all pages. Our site
So far, everything here, or at least 95% of it, Editor X.
is also fully responsive. Our design fits perfectly on every screen size. Let's get started. Welcome to the WixStudio editor. As you can see, we've got a spacious canvas for you, with the least amount of distractions possible. At the top, you can jump between desktop, tablet, and mobile, add additional screen sizes, and even change your default editing size. On the left, you've got different panels that help you throughout the creation process. You can add all the elements you need to the canvas, control the layers of the site, add and manage pages, control global sections, edit your site styles, install Wix Business Solutions, integrate and work with our CMS, and add custom code. On the right,
Okay, so far, for any of you who have ever opened up the Editor X editor, then this should look very, very familiar. Main differences so far is that it does have a cleaner look. So a lot of the stuff, the side panel that you would usually have over here on the right is kind of collapsed initially. And they have this new black design for the toolbar on top. Otherwise, very similar to Editor X or blocks at the moment.
you've got the inspector panel. This is a contextual menu that lets you control every aspect of the element, like size, position, and design. That about covers the environment. Now let's talk about the new design experience on WixStudio. Gali, take it away.
Let's do this. So the canvas is made specifically for a designer's way of working. I want to start showing you how we can build on it. Let's take the first section. Nir, can you help me out with this one?
Sure.
Great. So we already have a few elements placed on the canvas. And now Nir is going to start working on the composition and design. Now notice in the inspector panel on the right how the elements are adjusting in pixels, as though he's creating a static composition like a poster or an image. It's super intuitive to design with. If you'd like to work more precisely, you can also add specific measurements. But the real magic is that we are making a responsive site behind the scenes. Nir, how's it going?
Working on it. A few more tweaks and I'm done.
Great, take your time. On WixStudio, the elements you add scale proportionally by default, even though I'm editing them in pixels. So without doing anything, it just fits every screen size. Yes, even your clients. Now this changes everything. There are many ways to make your site responsive, and WixStudio is all about layers of control and letting you design in your preferred way. Sometimes you want to create more complex relationships between elements that result in more intricate behavior. Now let's see an example in the slideshow. Here,
Okay, so let me just translate what she's saying into, realistic terms. So basically, what they're trying to say is, ideally, everybody could use Editor X because Editor X really gives a full toolkit of responsive design, like almost very similar to what you'd get if you were designing your website from scratch using HTML, CSS, JavaScript in terms of, how you can build both responsively and build different relationships and grids and flexbox and stuff like that. On the other hand, the classic editor is super simple to use. So if you're a DIY person and you're coming and building your website and you have no idea about web design, the chances that you'll be able to use Editor X are slim. Even a lot of the partners and a lot of the people who have been doing web design for a while and got used to the classic editor also have a very hard time with it. And it is complex. And what they're trying to do here is to create an editor where out of the box, it's super simple. So maybe out of the box, it's very much like the classic editor. You could just throw things on the canvas and they're there. And it'll be responsive out of the box. And as they're about to say, you'll be able to also add extra layers of complexity and pretty much bring it to be like Editor X.
all the elements are connected to the CMS, and all the descriptions have different lengths. So we need a way to make sure they work on every screen size, no matter how long the text is. So we're going to change the responsive behavior from scale proportionally to wrap. And now it's going to wrap inside the text box as the screen size gets smaller.
That's something that I'm not sure exists in Editor X.
If you want to make more customizations, you can also click on these three dots in the inspector and turn on advanced sizing and tweak the CSS properties directly.
So that advanced sizing is basically make it work exactly like Editor X.
For those of you who prefer to put your focus on design and less on the math, instead of doing all of this manually, I'm excited to share that you can do this using responsive AI. Let's look at another section and see AI in action. With just a click of a button, we can make the section responsive for every screen size. Now, to explain that in a bit more details, our AI model is analyzing the section. It's applying the most suitable layout and responsive behaviors element by element. Now, responsive AI is a real time saver and it's a game changer for your workflows. Nina, you want to show them the next big thing we've got?
Sure thing. We know how important animations and interactions are for creating unique experiences. With WixStudio, you get tons of them, no code needed. Scroll animations, loop animations, hover, entrance, all to make your site really stand out. Now let me show you how intuitive it is to add them to your site. Let's recreate the scroll animation on the main title. I'll select the main title, head to the Interactions tab. Here you can see all the interactions you can apply. I'll add a scroll animation. For each animation type, there's a wide selection of presets you can start from. For scroll animations, we've got grow, slide, blur, and many more. On our example, we want the title to move from its design to its new position. For every animation, you can also adjust the properties. On our example, let's change the angle to 90 degrees so it will move sideways. Let's change the distance to 100% and the animation area from the middle of the screen's height to 75%. And that's it. I've got the animation that I was looking for.
So I think some of these animation tools are slightly more advanced than the Editor X animation tools. To be honest, I am the wrong person to talk to about animations. I mean, I think it's cool, and I think that if it's used correctly, it can add to the user experience on the site, but I wouldn't say that I'm part of the animation hype. Those people who are just looking for that extra cool animation that's really going to change everything. Um, yeah, I mean, maybe that's because I specialize more in building custom code solutions, so I'm more focused on, building kind of data structures and robust web apps as opposed to like that one last cool design or animation. Not to belittle it, just that's not where my passion or skill set lies.
Of course, that was just one example. There are so many ways you can use all these animations. But wait, there's even more. On WixStudio, the world of CSS is open for you. In this section, we combined a no-code scroll animation with CSS blur effect. Let me show you how to add this effect. I'll head to the code panel and go to the CSS panel. Here, all I have to do is paste in the snippet I want. You can paste code from anywhere or get super creative and write your own.
So for those of you who don't know, I mean, and makes a lot of sense that you wouldn't know if you've just been using the classic Wix editor and you don't have any prior kind of web development experience. But CSS is basically the coding language that you use to style elements, to style HTML elements in web development. So any website that you see, all of the style is CSS. So if there wasn't any CSS, it would look like a web page from like 1990 where like everything was, Times New Roman and the buttons all looked like these like grayish buttons. Like that would be the style if not for CSS. So when you are building with the classic Wix editor, basically Wix takes CSS out of the equation for you and it's built in. But now what they're doing is they're kind of giving back the reins in terms of controlling CSS for those who want. And that's pretty exciting because CSS is a super powerful language and you can really do a lot of cool things with it.
Now for the final step, I'll select the image and apply the class I wanted. Done. The possibilities here are truly endless. We can't wait to see what you come up with. Let's move on to talk about layouting. Gali, take it away.
In all the sections we've worked on so far, we've been pretty freeform. Sometimes, though, you have a very defined structure in mind, and for that, we created Section Grid. We took all the power of the CSS grid and turned it into a hyper-efficient and intuitive tool. Let's take a look at the layout we created. As you can see, we've displayed a lot of content here about the upcoming events and the exhibitions at the museum. Now, I want to move to the editor and show you how we built it. I'm going to start by creating the structure. Starting with a blank section, I'm going to split it into two. Then, I can easily drag to resize and change their proportion. Next, I can split this cell, and I'm going to keep splitting the cells in any way that I'd like. And that's all it takes. I've got the layout that I want.
Okay, so this is new. I'm not so sure if it's a huge plus, but basically, in order to do something like that, I'm not even talking about the classic editor, but let's compare this to Editor X for now, because in the end of the day, WixStudio is more similar to Editor X than the classic editor. So to do something like she just demonstrated, you would have to add a layouter or add a container into your section and then make those divisions within that layouter as opposed to it being just the section that was divided. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, if they added the feature, maybe they know of some kind of advantage that I can't think of. It saves you from adding an extra layout or element, I guess, but anyway.
To add content to the cells, I can just drag it and make all the adjustments as usual. Now let's fast forward and bring in the final content. Once all the content is in there, if I want to move around between the cells, I can just multi-select them and click swap. If I want to tweak the design, I could head to the inspector panel and I can change any property. For example, here I can add some gaps. This is the setup we had in the original site, but I can actually go pretty wild here. I can increase the spacing.
Whoa.
Yep. And I can add section background.
It's better.
Cool. I'm happy you like it. And now I can go ahead and also change the shape of the cell. Not only is section grid
Yeah, so all of that, I mean, you could do with a layout or an editor X. I'm still kind of racking my brain to think of like some kind of advantage to what they just showed. There might be a simplicity element to it, but I don't think it's a huge difference.
super helpful while working on the design. It also makes it really easy to structure content across screen sizes. So let's move on to tablet. I got a more equal grid. And on mobile, I chose a totally different layout. I used the rows layout instead of the collage. This whole new experience was built to make your life easier. You can play around with it until you come up with your ideal layout. But as we said earlier, on WixStudio, we give you layers of control. So if you want to get in depth with it, you can go over to the inspector and then you can switch to the advanced CSS grid. It lets you control the layout in a very detailed way.
Gali, before we get to the final section of our design demo, I think
Again, that advanced CSS grid is basically just opening the regular editor X capabilities, pretty much. I mean, from what I saw.
we should address how we've been working together this whole time. On WixStudio, you can work on the same site at the same time with as many people as you want. You can see who's working with you up here. But there are many more collaboration tools we believe you'd love. For example, you can leave live comments to one another, and you can save any asset and theme to a library and share it with your team. We also wanted to give you a straightforward way to collaborate with your clients. When they
So before he gets into collaborating with clients, I just want to point out that both of those collaboration tools that he just mentioned, so multiple people working on the same site at the same time and being able to leave comments, those are both features that exist in Editor X. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit more to the relationship between Editor X and WixStudio and the future and what I think and some other Easter eggs that I've picked up on. But I can't help but feel like there is somewhat of an attempt here to kind of market Editor X in a slightly different way. So I think Editor X is a great tool. I think it's getting closer to a lot of the more professional design tools out there, but I'm guessing that it didn't manage to get the wide appeal that definitely that the classic editor gets and that Wix was hoping for. So this possibly is a stab at trying to kind of rebundle Editor X in a new package and try and put a new spin on it and maybe take away a little bit of the apprehension that people have from Editor X as being like overly complicated.
want to add their own content to the site, either during the design process or after you've handed it over, they can use our content mode feature. It's a safe way to let clients make changes without affecting the design. You can also control the permissions your clients have and what they can edit on the site. Your client can click on a section and update any content, like the date of the exhibition. All the style decisions would stay the same.
So we've got the layout and design for our homepage ready to go. We covered the highlights of the WixStudio editor, and I wish we could show you everything the platform is capable of. AI content and AI image generators, global sections, horizontal stack, text mask, but there's even more. This museum needs more complex functionality. This site uses the combined power of Wix bookings and Wix stores. I want to show you the product page in the editor to demonstrate the extreme freedom and flexibility it provides. For example, you can select from a range of pro galleries to get the layout you want. You can customize any element within the product page using the same editor experience.
Okay, so this is a pretty big difference. Definitely from the classic editor, and I'm pretty sure from Editor X as well. I'm not sure if Editor X had that much flexibility in terms of design when it came to Wix stores. I would have to double check, but I think that that is a big difference.
Add both third-party and native apps. Here, we're going to use our native review widget. And since we're talking about WixStudio here, everything works responsively, and you can adjust the behavior as you like. But what if we want to go even deeper and add specific logic to the business solution? For that, we're going to need custom code. In the museum site, we applied packaging fee for fragile items, plus a 10% discount on all the guided tours for museum members. And
So what they're talking about now is the new Wix SPIs, which are primarily at the moment mostly in the e-commerce area. So Wix has been adding the ability to, and it works a little different than the APIs and other custom code because it kind of injects new logic into the standard workflow of that app. Okay, so like a lot of my tutorials that you see, like it's okay, let's completely redesign the product page, let's completely redesign the checkout page and customize it and use the Wix APIs. So here they're kind of saying, okay, so instead of doing all of that work, let us give you access to the logic that guides the standard Wix kind of interface and allow you to, let's say, add an extra fee, add an extra tax calculation, add some kind of validation as a new one that just came out. So that's something cool that they're doing, mostly in the e-commerce area. There's still a lot to be done there, but I think it is an interesting direction that they're taking.
now, to show you how we did it, there is no one better than Yoav Abrami, our head.
But sorry, but I must clarify that this is not unique to WixStudio. The SPIs are available for both the classic editor and Editor X, and I think that probably a lot of the Velo things that they'll be showing, that'll be true. I do know that there are some unique Velo things for WixStudio, so I'm kind of excited about those. But I have a feeling that they're also going to sprinkle in a bunch of stuff that are available with the other editors as well.
Of code products.
Thanks, Gali, and hi everyone. After working closely with developers, we learned that we needed to give you the best developer experience and tools to create better and faster. Let me introduce you to the new Wix IDE.
Okay, so this is something that I saw and I got very excited about. I don't know too much about it, so I'm really curious to see what he has to say about it.
Based on VS Code, a professional dev environment. You can see here all the project files, backend, pages, public, and styles. Using the Wix IDE, we will implement an SPI to extend the functionality of a Wix business application. An SPI is the reverse of an API, where we define the structure and we call your code to customize the business logic. What I'm about to show you is just one example of how we expose hundreds of APIs and integrations across all Wix business solutions, giving you the freedom to answer any client brief. Let's start with the packaging fees. So we'll open the...
So I don't think it's intentional, but I think that just the way that they're structuring these demonstrations twist the logic slightly because he's demonstrating the new IDE and he's demonstrating SPI, but the way it was presented made it seem like the IDE is something that allows you to implement the SPI, where that's not the case. I mean, you could easily implement these SPIs also in the regular code editor in Wix.
Coding panel, go to Packages and Apps, and other custom extensions. We will add a new additional fees extension. We'll just name our extension and we'll get started. Now let's add.
There is some redesigning there in the code panel. It looks a little different. I'm not sure if there's anything. Page code, I guess in global code. Global code, I guess, is just the new name for public. And then we have backend code. Packages and apps the same. GitHub is also available on Editor X. Yeah, design-wise, it looks a little different. The CSS, of course, that's new.
Head back to the IDE, to the backend folder, SPIs, ecom additional fees. In this file, we'll add the SPI implementation. This will iterate over the products in the cart and identify words like glass or ceramic. Those
He writes code very fast.
products will be categorized as fragile, and additional fees will automatically be added before checkout. And that's it. Once we publish the site, the integration is done.
I love how we've added more openness to the platform you have. Now let's
So what he said, it was meant to sound in this video like an advantage, but to be honest, I actually see it as a bit of a disadvantage because you have to publish your site for these SPIs to work. And there's really very little testing environment for them, which is something that I've conveyed to the Wix team, and I hope that it's something that they will work on in the future. And they are very attentive to feedback, so that is a good thing. But it's just interesting how, like, marketing is really everything.
show them how we set the members discount.
So, to set the members discount, we'll first connect to the museum CRM to see if the person logged in into the site is actually a member of the museum. To do that, we'll call the CRM APIs through the museum API gateway. To save time, I have already added and configured the Booking Pricing Provider SPI. I'll open the Booking Pricing Provider under the SPI folder. For this integration, let me show you something new and exclusive for WixStudio. I am excited to announce the new AI code assistant in the Wix IDE. The AI was trained on Velo examples, documentation, and best practices to be able to create idiomatic JavaScript code for the Wix platform.
So this is something that has existed in the general web dev world for quite a while. If you've heard of Copilot for VS Code, it came even a little bit before the recent generative AI fad. So even prior to ChatGPT, there was already talk about Copilot. It kind of preceded a little bit, but now it's like become more popularized and AI has become something obvious. So I'm really I'm really interested in seeing how they gave this a spin for Velo. It can definitely be very helpful. Basically what it would do theoretically is predict what you're about to write in your code and kind of complete your code for you. And it can be very smart, but it could also require a keen eye to double check that it's actually the code that you want to write.
I'll insert a prompt asking the AI to call the museum API. We've sent our request to the AI code assistant, and it's thinking. Now, let's take a look at the response.
Okay, so that is very different than what I was expecting. So I explained something completely different, which was, I guess, my hopes and dreams for this, which maybe he'll show in a moment, I don't know. But this basically is kind of like just a ChatGPT for Velo on the side of the IDE, which is nice, but it's not what I was thinking about exactly. Yeah, I'm curious to see if he reveals that as well.
You can see that the AI assistant doesn't only generate the code, it also explains every part of it. I'll take this code and add a bit of my own logic to quickly apply a 10% discount to verified museum members. I'll paste the code here and done.
This is so cool.
So I'm curious to hear from you guys after seeing that tool that he just introduced, the AI assistant. So I'm curious if you guys have been using ChatGPT at all to try and help you write your Velo code or JavaScript code in general, and if you think that this would really give you a leg up and help somebody who really doesn't have a code background implement Velo on their website. Because not only because professionally I depend on it, but also just I feel like if I didn't know how to code at all, I'm not sure if something like this would help me. I think it's a great tool for someone who does know how to code and does know how to verify if this stuff is correct or not, and really phrase kind of the right prompts, very much like ChatGPT. So I'm curious what you guys think about that and if you think something like that would help you.
AI can really speed up the productivity of developers.
Exactly.
You know what? I think it's the perfect time to talk about one of the most exciting developments, Wix blocks.
Absolutely. So actually, this one is a personal for me. Because 7 years ago when we started Velo, our original vision was to create a tool that allowed developers to easily bring their apps to the Wix app market. And now with blocks, I am happy to announce that this vision is finally a reality. Blocks is the first platform combining UI builder, database, cloud backend, and a pre-configured dev environment, creating a fully managed runtime. You can use blocks for any type of site, from e-com, restaurants, booking, and more. For example,
Not only can you use it for different types of sites, but more critically, again, if you don't know what blocks is at all, I have a tutorial about blocks. Basically, what blocks is it allows you to design reusable components and also add code elements and functionality to them. So it's kind of like you build this mini website that you can install on other websites. It's very cool and very useful. It's still low-key in beta. I don't know if the fact that they're announcing it here means that it's out of beta or that WixStudio is beta. But the thing that he doesn't say here is that, and I think is in light of the fact that Wix is introducing yet another kind of editor. So now there's going to be 4 editors, sort of. Well, the ADI, I guess, doesn't support Wix blocks, I think. But so let's say there's 3 editors, and Wix blocks is really going to be the only tool that can be used for all 3 editors. So I can design a Wix block and I can install it on any website, which almost makes it worthwhile to design everything in blocks, because that's the only way that you'll have reusable components between sites. Otherwise, I'll design something in editor X. I probably won't be able to put that on a classic site. Definitely won't be able to put it on a classic site. Probably won't be able to put it on a studio site, and vice versa. And if you do create it in a block, so that can be installed on all of the different site types. So that is a huge plus.
For example, you can develop your own business verticals, such as real estate or vacation rentals, an app that tailors content for specific users, or even create engaging games. In fact, we can already see some amazing apps that our partners have created with blocks. Blocks fulfills the vision of empowering you to focus not only on building, but also on selling your applications on the Wix app market. Coming back to the museum, I've created a block to dynamically indicate
Just about selling on the Wix app market. So I'm currently working on a first block that I'm trying to release to the Wix app market. It's not simple. So if you think, like, don't get hyped up by, oh yeah, I'm going to create blocks and just launch them all in the app market and make tons of money. It's a long journey. It could be that once you make one app and you know how to do it from beginning to end, including the release to the app market, then it goes more smoothly, for the future ones. But there's a big difference between designing the blocks, which is not too complicated, including adding custom functionality and creating something that's really useful to use on multiple sites, and launching it to the app market. The launch to the app market is a stringent and complicated process. It requires interaction with the Wix REST APIs, which are not the Velo APIs. It requires multiple applications and reviews by the Wix team. It's not a simple endeavor. So don't get too hyped up by making money from apps unless that's something that you're very experienced with. And yeah, just with a pinch of salt, as they say.
If the museum is open or closed at a given time. We can implement this block not only on the homepage, but on multiple pages and across different sections and reuse it for other clients that require similar functionality. I believe that with the combination of the Wix IDE, AI code assistant and blocks, we have a unique developer offering as part of WixStudio.
So that wraps up our WixStudio product demo. And
So just to clarify, out of all the things that he said, the only thing that is possibly unique to WixStudio is the Velo IDE, and that was basically what you saw him editing code kind of in a IDE that looked a little bit like VS Code. And again, I'm not sure that's something that will only be available for WixStudio. Yeah, so far, I guess the CSS, but that's also in Editor X. The SPIs definitely are in everything. So far, I didn't hear anything that was exclusive to WixStudio.
now that you got a glimpse of the new web creation capabilities that await you, I think it's a great time to head back to Michal.
Thank you, Gali, Nir, and Yoav. I'm so impressed. You all did such an amazing job. Now, you've seen all these crazy tools and capabilities we've created for you, and I can't wait to see what you're going to create with them. And now, I want to move on to something that is very close to my heart, something that my team and I personally worked on, and I cannot even express how proud I am to share this with you. We talked about the advancement in the editor, but when we say that WixStudio is a platform dedicated for agencies and freelancers, we mean the entire platform, from creation to management and growth, with everything surrounding it, support, education, and community. So, alongside the editor, we've been working on a totally new dashboard, or as we now call it, the workspace, with more capabilities to help you manage your project, teams, and clients at scale in a much more efficient way. Are you ready to meet your new workspace? Here is your...
So this is something that might interest you a little less if you are not a professional designer or a studio and you're just kind of a DIY Wix user. But it does kind of add a little apprehension here because I'm curious to see how they are going to decouple the two at some stage, if at all. Because they built a new-ish editor, which is a simplified version of Editor X, which is theoretically something that they would want to give also DIY people access to, but it seems to, at this point, be an offering that's completely coupled with this workspace partner studio wrapper. So I am curious to see if and how they will decouple those two at some point.
One place where you can manage it all. We'll start with the most important tab, My Sites. Many of you are managing hundreds of sites. So we added capabilities that let you easily view and find the sites you're working on. Predefined views, filters, custom views, and you can even export your list of sites to CSV. Having many sites means many premium plans. So we built a totally new subscription tab that supports multiple plans and highlights the most important information you need to know, like upcoming renewals, unassigned subscriptions, and more. To work more efficiently, we added the ability to create and share reusable assets. So now you'll be able to create your own templates and blocks and reuse them within your workspace.
Okay, so this is nice because at the moment it's very hard to get to blocks. You either have to create a new block using blocks.new, or you have to go into an existing site and then go into custom apps and then go into create block, or you have to go into the Wix Dev Center, which is not so accessible. So this is going to make blocks a lot more accessible and hopefully a lot easier to manage and a lot easier to collaborate on.
As you have said, you can also sell blocks in the app market to monetize your creation, making it, in my opinion, one of the most exciting releases we spoke about today. Now, I can't talk about managing at scale without mentioning support. We know that tracking and managing support ticket across your company can be a lot. So we created one centralized place to view all tickets, open new ones, and manage all your support history. Moving on to updates.
That is very nice. I definitely do struggle sometimes with Wix support in terms of, first of all, I don't know what any of the numbers for any of my tickets are, and just the whole email communication thing is a bit of a nightmare. I do hope that this comes with also just a slight increase in the quality of the support and not only organizing the support that you're getting, but you have to pick your wishes.
We know how important it is for you as partners to be the first in the know. So we created the news center, a place where you can read all about the new releases, betas, and updates. And coming up in the pipeline, we're working to give you specific notification on the features that interest you the most.
So this is actually very helpful because usually at the moment, I usually find the new things in the editor when I'm just working, and then I'll go to like the Wix partner group on Facebook, and then I'll see there's some announcement about it, or I'll get it in an email like 2 weeks later, and I'm like, yeah, I saw that already, thanks. And this hopefully would streamline that a little bit so that the updates would come before you find them in the editor.
The next thing I'm going to talk about will bring a lot of value to many of you, as I know collaboration is a huge part of your day-to-day. With WixStudio, you can have multiple workspaces under the same account. So for example, if you're a freelancer working with a few agencies on a regular basis, you'll be able to see all of their workspaces under a single account. When switching between workspaces, all the projects, assets, and settings switch accordingly. And the last thing I'm going to show you is what I believe is one of the most crucial parts of your business, your relationship with your clients. One of the highlights of any project is the moment you finally hand it over. But at the same time, you want to make sure the transition is smooth. We really thought about how you can provide the most professional experience and how you can go the extra mile for your clients. And for that exact reason, we built the Client Kit, where you can add helpful resources either made by you or pre-made from our library. For example, in this kit, I added a Zoom recording from a site walkthrough I did for my client, a pre-made tutorial about how to use the CMS, and I also attached a file with the site brand guidelines. Once you're ready to hand over the site, the kit will be added to your client's dashboard and will be available for them at any time. Those were just the highlights of the workspace, and obviously there's a lot more. Educational resources, team management capabilities, site reports, and revenues opportunities. But I leave some parts for you to discover on your own.
So one thing that I'm kind of a little disappointed was not included in this big reveal WixStudio is the ability to create easily shareable templates. So currently Wix has an offering of templates that they offer. So you can kind of browse their templates and start one of your sites off of their templates. And as a designer or a developer, you can create a website, you can duplicate a website, and then you can send that website to someone else. But it's not as simple as like the click of a button. And you don't really have a marketplace to sell your templates within Wix. And this is something that I was really, really hoping that Wix would streamline. Because as you guys know, like I offer some template solutions, and currently it's like a huge hassle. Like somebody has to pay for it, and then I have to see that they made a payment. I have to go, I have to duplicate the site, I have to add them, I have to send them an invite. Maybe they don't accept the invite. 3 days later, I have to send it again. So that is not an ideal experience for someone who wants to create and share. And it's very interesting, like that blocks is going very much towards reusable, kind of like what's the slogan? Renew, reuse, recycle, reuse. I don't know. But anyways, I was hoping that templates would also be part of this, but I guess that is for another day.
With everything we've built for you, managing at scale, working efficiently, with the ability to add your personal touch to the relationship you build with your clients, I truly believe you'll have everything you need to reach new levels of success. Okay, we covered so much today. The creation experience, dev capabilities, the new workspace, and it's just the beginning. We have a full roadmap ahead of us for WixStudio, a roadmap that we will share with you and that will be transparent at any given.
So that's actually this little line here. I mean, it's just like it's just a graphic, but using Wix multilingual with content collections, that I know is a big ask for a lot of people. Adding rich content element to repeater. What I really want to hear is repeater in repeater. That that and templates. That is what I wanted to hear in this announcement.
Time, along with a wish list that will allow you to continue to impact and shape our platform. I'm sure you got a lot of questions right now, but let's start with the most important one. When can you start using WixStudio? So Studio will be released gradually. I'm happy to say that as a start, we will open it exclusively for you, as we want to focus all our energy and resources on making sure the transition and education period is seamless. Once you join Studio, all of your existing projects, both from Wix and Editor X, will be waiting for you in the new workspace, as well as your partner program points and your level. Now, let's talk about our education plan. It's huge, with tons of tutorials, webinars, resources, and more. All will be available in our new extensive online education platform, which you'll get access to as soon as you get started. But that's not all. In 2 weeks, we are coming to meet you in person. We are going to be in 12 cities around the world: New York, LA, Miami, Sydney, Tokyo.
So I actually already signed up for one of the New York events. Yeah, for the sake of privacy, I won't tell you exactly which one, but one of the upcoming New York events I will be at. So if anybody is planning on being there, do leave a comment, and maybe I'd love to meet some people if there are any partners or otherwise people from the channel who want to grab a coffee or something. I'd love to.
Berlin, Sao Paulo, London, Toronto, Paris, Bangalore, and Tel Aviv, where you can come, meet us, and learn everything you need to know about WixStudio. We're so excited to be able to do this for you. So come and learn, as we believe that WixStudio is the future of how you are going to create and manage your projects for your clients. Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope to see you soon at our live events.
Okay, so don't go just yet, because I do have a few follow-up things that I want to talk about and point out. And this has to do kind of a bit of where I think Wix might be going. So first of all, let's take a look at where we just watched this video. So this video we just watched was on a YouTube channel called WixStudio, which is quite bold for this like new product. And whoa, they already have 11,000 subscribers. And if we go into the details, then we can see that they joined on May 27th, 2020. Sus. Okay, so if you take a deeper look at this channel, then you will see that it is actually the Editor X channel. And what they did is they turned it into WixStudio. So think what you may think. Yeah, just pointing that out for whoever's for the conspiracy theorists and the speculators. Otherwise, there is this new WixStudio site, wix.com/studio, which kind of goes over, all of the features, and there's just different resources for learning about it. Specifically, what interests me is obviously this developer first advanced web creation, the Velo stuff. And there's some additional documentation that just came in about coding with WixStudio. Specifically, there's interesting stuff about the CSS, AI assistants, and interestingly enough, also the IDE, and just different comparisons between what each one allows. So the code panel is just the standard Wix code panel where you've been coding until this very day, if you've been coding. And the IDE is what was demonstrated inside of the demo that we just saw. And Git integration is something that's also been around for a short while with Editor X. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what the different options are here. And yeah, I'm curious to see where Wix is going. Are they going towards kind of a unification where eventually there might only be one editor, which is the WixStudio, and that'll be what everybody uses? Are they planning on keeping Classic and Editor X and Studio, or just Classic and Studio in the end of the day, because Editor X ended up being too complicated? Yeah, I think that it really depends on how. I think it's an experiment, like a lot of things with Wix. And if they see that it kind of catches on easily, then maybe they will go towards having one unified Wix Studio. And if not, then they'll keep the classic around. I think, I mean, there's several considerations. One is that there's so many sites on Classic, and it's obviously so different to Editor X and Studio. So I don't even know if they have the option to migrate those sites into Wix Studio if they wanted to. Um, we definitely saw them adding the sections into the classic Wix editor, which was a big, huge change, which didn't add that much, additional functionality, and actually kind of screwed up a lot of sites for a lot of people. And I feel like the only reason to do that is if it was kind of a necessary step for this kind of grand merger. On the other hand, it could be I'm just being a conspiracy theorist. And likely Wix itself is not 100% sure where it wants to go. I'm also curious to see how it might throw in something like Codex, which I don't know if you guys heard about. It's a React IDE, a visual IDE for React. And it is a Wix product, so it's made by the Wix team. And if you just like take a peek at these visuals, it looks exactly like Editor X/Wix Studio. So I definitely think that there is a universe where this product somehow loops into the other Wix products as well. Because what we saw them do kind of over the past year or two is develop these individual products. So, first blocks and headless and CSS and the AI, and seemingly unrelated, and then tie them all together into something like Wix Studio. Again, maybe I'm giving them a little too much credit for long-term planning. Not that they're not amazing, but just, there's a limit to how much you can plan for the future, and some things are just not spur of the moment, but kind of just based on market changes and things that are called for. But I am curious to see if this is also a product that's going to be looped into the Wix universe or not. So that kind of sums up my take on Wix Studio. I'm definitely excited to start checking it out. I don't know if I will be the first person on it, mostly because I mostly work on existing sites. I don't do so many sites from scratch. I would like to start doing that, but at the moment, mostly I work on existing sites. And since this is a very partner-facing tool, I don't know how soon I'll get a chance to really play around with it. At least the editor part, probably the workspace part, yes. I'm also tend to be hesitant to using new Wix products. I like to let other people try them first, much like Wix does. And just kind of work with it when it's kind of a little more, you know, it's gained some experience, real world experience. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on Wix Studio. I hope you found this informative and exciting. And yeah, don't forget to, give this video a like if you like this kind of video. I don't know, maybe I'll make more of this style video. And do subscribe to the channel if you're interested in Wix in general, if you're interested in different tutorials about Velo and Wix and beyond. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.